Ah, Sonic Generations, how I love thee. You know, it's my favorite Sonic game after all. Much better than the likes of Sonic Unleashed. It's always been a game that has a very special place in my heart. But throughout the countless times I've replayed its levels, there's one thing that always stuck out to me. And that's the only real issue I have with Sonic Generations. That being the biggest missed opportunity the Sonic franchise has ever seen. From what I gather, the one unanimous issue people had with Sonic Generations, other than obviously Planet Wisp Classic, is that there just isn't enough of it. Sonic Generations was ripe for DLC, and it's a real shame that we never got any. So, without further ado, let us discuss. But first, if you're watching this, please consider subscribing, because we're getting really close to 1,000 subscribers, and it'd be really cool to hit that milestone. But not to take up any more of your time, back to the video. While the incredibly active modding scene for Sonic Generations is viewed as a huge positive, it's made me realize in the passing few months that Sonic Generations was just a perfect formula. It's got the best boost controls in the series, it's got some of the most expansive designs, and it was just easy to add on levels to, as seen by this huge modding community that have done stuff like implementing all the Sonic Unleashed levels, or the Sonic Colors project, which aims to bring fully realized Sonic Colors levels into a better engine. At the end of the day, Sonic Generations was just the perfect blueprint, and that was even further emphasized upon by the base game's lack of content, which was really its only flaw, other than again, Planet Wisp Act 1. And that just makes it all the more crazy that Sega missed out on giving DLC to Sonic Generations, when it was literally a perfect money-making scheme. Sega, as of recent, has been making a few, let's just say, monetarily informed decisions, that it shocks me that they just didn't give the DLC to Sonic Generations. It's really sad too, because Sonic Generations is really a game that needed the extra playtime. When it launched, it took you just about 2 hours to beat the whole thing, which is just kind of embarrassing for a game released for full price. The existing content in Generations was already so amazing that adding onto it and expanding it just seemed like a natural step forward for the series. But instead, we got Sonic Lost World, and we all know how that turned out.
Hey! I've been looking for you, Baldy McNosehair!
Just think about it, a DLC stage pass, just like the one that they dropped for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe recently. It would drop stages at a rate of 3 at a time, one from each of the eras in Sonic Generations. They could keep dropping these packs semi-regularly, keeping the Sonic Generations players invested in the game. This would not only increase the existing content of Generations, but seriously might make some people consider this their new favorite Sonic game, because its issues are finally fixed. Imagining the first pack revealed would contain several fan-favorite zones like Metal Harbor, Ice Cap Zone, and maybe a new Sonic Color stage like Aquarium Park. Not only would this help with the content droughts that we received throughout the following years, but it would also help keep the positive goodwill that Sonic Generations generated for the Sonic brand. The coolest aspect of Sonic Generations was seeing these older stages remastered in a new engine, so I think they could have really kept going and established a really cool formula for that. Just keep dropping new DLC stages. They could have had them as regular announcements during these Sonic Centrals if they started doing those earlier. Giving DLC to Sonic Generations was just a win-win all around for not only the consumers, but Sega themselves. They would have generated more income during the boom era, and they would have kept up their goodwill from Sonic Generations and Colors even further by fully finishing Sonic Generations. But however, not all is lost for the idea of Sonic games with DLC, as I think Sonic Frontiers could bring it back in a pretty positive way. It wouldn't be too difficult to add an extra island to Sonic Frontiers, throw in a few new cyberspace levels, and maybe an extra character, and a few side stories, and you've got a recipe for a DLC pack that I think a lot of people would consider buying, especially if Frontiers' base gameplay is already fun to play. Which, according to all the footage we've seen so far, is looking more and more like a reality with each passing day. But back on topic to Sonic Generations DLC, I've actually made a previous list of all the levels I want to see brought back in cyberspace, and a lot of that still applies to Sonic Generations DLC, so if you haven't watched that yet, I'd suggest you go watch that now. But as for this video, I've actually added a few other levels to that list, so let's go through those now. So this section of the video is just going to be a bit quicker as I rattle off some rapid fire picks for levels I wanted to see brought back in Sonic Generations DLC, if we actually got any. So first off, I want Radical Train from Sonic 06, Aquatic Base also from Sonic 06, Route 99 from Sonic Advance 3, Water Palace from Sonic Rush, and definitely another Sonic Riders level. For some more oddball picks, and representing other Sega IPs, I'd want a Super Monkey Ball level, the level on a floating Man Ray from Sonic and the Secret Rings. I don't know if you're getting that reference, but I'll just put up an image of it on screen or something. And finally, a level based around the Death Egg. Now I know this was done in Sonic Forces, but I think it could have been done really well in Sonic Generations. And yeah, that's about it. I told you this was going to be a short section. The final takeaway I want to give with this video is that Sonic the Hedgehog is a franchise with a lot of unique level themes, and Sonic Generations was the perfect opportunity for those level themes to finally shine. It's just a shame that this treatment couldn't have been given to all the other levels that were bogged down by their respective games being, well, Sonic games. And in the end, that's really what makes the lack of Sonic Generations DLC sting even more. What could have been an amazing way to realize the series' lost potential just ended up being my favorite Sonic game of them all. How incredibly disappointing. And that's it for me, Deveron, signing off.